Hello, I'm Jody Wolf, and you're watching Expoz. It is July 5, 2018, 12:44 a.m. Birmingham, and topic is, well, they say we're going to have a rapture, but guess what? There's no tribulation. Right. Rapture, no tribulation, because it's not real. Well, this is what Brenda WELTNER says. She says, the rapture is real, the tribulation is not. I beg to differ from those words. Revelations chapter 6. Who is worthy to open the seals? Who can do this? No one is worthy to open the seals. What's in the seals? What is behind the seals? Judgments. That's why they're called sealed judgments. And it was Christ, it was Jesus that stepped forward. I'll open those seals. And he did. Those seals brought judgment upon those left behind on the earth. Now, it is most likely, and I'm getting more and more where I'm leaning this way, that the rapture of the church took place years prior to the actual beginning of the final 7-year tribulation. 7 years could have gone by, 10 years could have gone by. Even more years could have gone by. But there will be 3 judgments of 7 upon this planet during that final 7 years. And no one knows when the final 7 years begins. They will only know midway through, when they have only 3.5 years left. And that is because the false prophet will walk into the temple and demand to be worshiped. Then they know that they have been in the rapture 3.5 years, because this marks the final 3.5 years in which the Antichrist and Satan will have total control of this planet. And they're here to hurt you the whole time. However, that's not the only suffering that you're going to go through. You have the sealed judgments, and only Christ is worthy to open these sealed judgments. They began, they're his judgments. In the 7th sealed judgment opens a 7th seal to introduce the next set of judgments, which are the trumpet judgments. And they're horrible. And when the 7th trump blows, it announces the next set of judgments, which are vials. These are God's personal judgments upon this planet. They're God's, and they're terrible. What you hear about all these beings, these fallen angels, the ones that were put in places back in the day of Enoch, they'll be released. Not all of them. A lot of them. They'll come out and they'll wreak havoc upon man. Keep in mind, when the tribulation begins, the people here will probably not know that it has started. The only inclination they'll have that it started is when the false prophet steps foot into the temple and desecrates the temple. Then everyone will know. Now, going by this world, slowly being molded into a one world order will give them a hint that something's different. But look, guys, we were having that mode being worked under Obama that actually started under Bill Clinton. And even when George Bush Sr. in year 1990, he made the first statement. He said, what we need is a new world order. So it started under Clinton, continued, but at a stalled pace under the Bushes. But when Obama came, it's on. It is on. Agenda 21 was signed. That Agenda 21 turned you into, like it or not, a socialist. All it had to be done was delivered in March to May of 2017. Who was going to deliver it in a nice, neatly wrapped up package? Hillary Clinton was going to deliver it. If that had happened, then the rapture would have occurred back then. But God saw fit to give the United States. God has plans of his own, people, and they're going to come to pass. So God decided, not yet. I'm not done with America. I'm not done blessing other countries through this man, Donald Trump. The one that I place in this position is a president of this power, the United States, because I've got work for him to do. I want to bless other nations. I want to bless North Korea, and I'm going to bless them through Donald Trump. They'll do it. They're going to be blessed. They will have freedom, something they've not had in over 60 years. They'll have freedom. But all this will come to pass. They'll have freedom. They may have freedom for 20 years. No one knows how long it'll be, but it will happen. And that's why I say the rapture of the church is not anytime soon. Because we'll see North Korea make a turn and bring these people who's never known anything but darkness, strife, and fear, and change it. Bring light to their world. Bring day to night, and bring these people out of the spirit of fear into the spirit of joy, something they've not known. This is North Korean people. And this can also be with any other country that has their people depressed and terrified of their leaders, the ones who are supposed to protect them. Well, I believe that God wants this to happen, and I believe this is going to happen. So that's going to come to pass before the rapture of the church. Let me tell you something else. Not only, like this Brenda WELTNER says, the tribulation is not real. Brenda, let me tell you something else in the tribulation that you may not know. There's a fourth judgment that no one talks about. I'm the only one that I've ever heard talk about it. This fourth judgment is called the seven thunders. When the seven thunders uttered, God said, "Write them not, John." God, as far as we know it, has decided not to use the seven thunders as another judgment, a fourth judgment. But the simple fact that it was mentioned, I believe it will occur. The seven thunders. John uttered the words, the seven thunders, but God said, don't disclose the seven thunders. So we may have four judgments, and they're not going to be good, not any of them. We're going to have two judgments that'll be the seals and the trumpets. That'll be the Lord's judgments. The vials will be God's, and the vials will be far worse than the seals and the trumpets. And if God decides to introduce the seven thunders, I say the seven thunders would highly likely be at least as bad as the vials. So I believe that this world will go down such a absolutely dark path. Look, since Trump has come in, I never in my life dreamed I would see so much hate in the United States government body against its own people. We cannot condemn North Korea for what he is doing to his people when we have our own leaders doing the same thing to you and I. We may not have been stoned to death or put to death or put in prison with whole families, but we don't know what has happened that has been done that they may know and say, look how horrible their government is. That's North Korea talking about the U.S. government. We're just now finding out that there is a swamp that not only stinks to high heaven, it's got to be drained. And it has got to be Trump, the man that will drain it, ordained and brought up by God to do this thing, along with other things that God wants him to do. We will have a rapture of the church. No one knows when. And when the rapture occurs, there will be a time goes by when people will have forgotten about the rapture. For the most part, the people who will have forgotten will be the people who weren't saved and the people who are still not interested in being saved, even though the Christians left and were taken out by Jesus himself. Guys, that's going to happen. I don't know when. I believe I'll see North Korea flourish. I believe I'll see the people there blessed. I believe I'll see Roe versus Wade overturned. I believe I will see this country prosper like it's not prospered in 40 to 50 years. I believe that I will see all these things come to pass. I believe that I'll see right up to Ezekiel 38-39, but I'm not including that war with Israel. That war will occur. There'll be water under the bridge. They'll be forgotten. Then peace and safety. That's when you hear it for Israel. After that war, they soundly defeated those who came against them. Now the world is afraid of Israel. Now they'll offer them peace and safety. Well, Israel will get used to that peace and safety. But during that time, what will creep in will be the beginning of the final 7 years tribulation. No one knows when it will begin. There's nothing that marks that. But sometime after the beginning, there will be 2 witnesses that will come down, and they'll be there in Jerusalem witnessing, and no one can hurt them for 3.5 years. They'll still not make that connection that they're in the tribulation. They'll make it only when the 2 witnesses dies and the temple is desecrated, and probably back to back. So guys, if you believe there's a rapture in the church, then you better believe there is great tribulation on the heels of it at some time, and it's going to be horrible. But in the meanwhile, happy 4th of July. You got a long time before these things will happen, and you don't want to be here anyway. You want to be taken out. So get on not only the Trump train, but get on the Rapture train. And let's get out of Dodge. And then have our feast in heaven while this planet goes through hell. We don't want to see that. We don't want to know it. We want to feel for those, but that will be wiped from our memory. We won't be up there enjoying ourselves while this is going on down here. If we had complete memory of it, then we wouldn't be up there enjoying ourselves. Those things will be wiped out of our memories. Except we will take a final ride. We'll mount our millions, tens of millions of horses and come back down here with Christ to end the final part of this battle that's going on in the Valley of Armageddon, where he will stop it and end it and save the remnants of his people, which is 1/3 of the Jews, be the only ones left out of the whole Jew arena. Just say there's 9,000, 3,000 will be saved. The rest of them will die. I'm not saying they'll die in their sins, but they will die because 2/3 they'll be taken, they'll be left behind. They will be killed and pillaged and raped in the streets. Jody Wolf Expoz.